Hello, good morning, and welcome to Bill Ricardi's weekly Patreon update. I, of course, am Bill Ricardi, a creator and purveyor of fantasy novels. I'm going to try to keep this really brief because I tried this a little bit earlier today and I rambled, and we're going to stop the rambling right now. The first part of the update is about the sequel to A Princess of Last Resort, the second book in the Blackstaff Siblings trilogy. The outlining is pretty much done. I'm just doing some of the final things that need to be done to weave plot elements from book one into book two, because there is a major perspective change. As people who follow my social media know, Granite is the star of book two, and then in book three we interweave Sarah and Granite's perspectives to have a much more even 50-50 storytelling. So Sarah was the star of book one, Granite's the star of book two, and book three is a 50-50 split between their perspectives. This is more like a 70-30 split between perspectives, because 70% of the story has to be about Granite. It's going to be about, his major leaps forward as far as his development and what he goes through before the very end of that novel. The third book, of course, is going to be about kind of the completion of the mystery, solving the mystery and confronting, the evil that faces Panos, as is tradition with Panos trilogies, right? So there's that. I'm getting that 30% a little bit more filtered, a little bit more exact. And once I'm done with that, the outline will be done, and I will be able to move on. Beta is still going on for Cadence. Stay tuned for that. It hasn't been a lot of activity, but my beta readers are now just starting to get back up to speed, and they've got a few weeks to work. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that we have a slight delay on the Cadence release, particularly when I have a live event in a couple of weeks. I'll be going to Birmingham for a convention. I'll be in the dealer's den there, and I will be selling physical novels. Why? Well, I love those particular types of conventions, but I've done a remastery, and that's the third topic today. I've remastered all of the first trilogy. The first trilogy being Another Stupid Trilogy, and thanks to Ashley Stone, who is a dear friend of mine, a supporter and a patron, they have revamped the way that the cover looks. Not the background art itself, but the lettering and the modernization of things like stickers on the cover, etc., etc. And he's done a brilliant job. So I use this as part of my relaunch, and we have, just off the relaunch alone, tripled the amount of free books that we're giving away, and that's starting to trickle down to sales of other books in the series and other series. So yeah, we're having a good time with this relaunch. This will be my first public appearance with physical copies of the relaunch books, and it's going to be great. So finally, I want to address what I'm doing in my free time. 3 days a week I write on Wattpad, and that takes up between 6 and 8 hours of my free time. Excuse me. And that is to try to attract a younger audience. Wattpad has a very different demographic than I do. Facebook has drilled it into my head that I am very attractive to the 35 and older crowd. The 35 and younger crowd, not so much. They're not into kind of the hardcore Tolkien's fantasy stuff. I would love them to be into rhythm, but I haven't gotten the exposure yet. So in order to help me get the exposure, I am going to Wattpad. I am trying a cutesy little romance called My Foxy Boyfriend, which is magical realism romance set in Vermont. I'm the #1 story about Vermont right now, so yes. But I have applied to their various programs, to their various advertisements, their various promotions, to try to get featured there, so that I can be a bigger presence with the ages of 13 to 34. And, they've got that demographic nailed down. So, my continued presence on Wattpad is assured. My Foxy Boyfriend should be finished in the next 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how it gets broken down. Should come out to maybe about 50,000 words, which I was surprised, but, there you go. And then I'm going to start a more hardcore romance novel, and I do mean that literally. That's the most likely thing I'm going to do to test that demographic, that part of the audience. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. If I get a huge response in the next few weeks to My Foxy Boyfriend, I'll write more light magical romances, maybe even a sequel to that. It's just going to depend on audience reaction. Well, that's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. This weekend I will be packaging up 5 books for the various major UK libraries who have requested a copy of A Princess of Last Resort, and that's great. They can get some of the last copies of this edition of it, because I do plan to revamp that, as well as revamping Rhythm, along with the revamps of the first trilogy that have been done. And I'm shipping that out, but other than that, I'm going to try to relax this weekend. So everyone else do the same. Relax, have fun, be safe out there. It's really rainy here in Belfast, I know, so drive safe if you're in the area, and have a good one.